Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to another Sunday Devotional. This week, we're going to wrap up our series about confidence, talking about confidence and comparison and the traps that we all fall into regarding that. And then on Wednesday, I will announce our next Sunday Devotional series, which I'm excited about as we're moving into the holiday season. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, and I love everything in between Thanksgiving and New Year's, so I'm super excited for that. I'm hoping that I will be able to get through this video because I made one earlier this week and then I decided I want to talk about something different, and I don't know if my computer has enough storage to hold another video, and I can't figure out how to delete things from iMovie. So if anyone knows how to do that, please let me know. Hopefully I'll be able to figure that out. But yeah, so today we are going to be talking about confidence and comparison. My mom would always tell me that comparison is only ever going to steal your joy. And I think that's something we all struggle with because they're all things we want, and especially with like social media, that makes it even all the worse when we can constantly see what other people have that we don't. And it just fills us with greater desires and wanting more. So it's definitely a growing issue because I wasn't around back then, but back in the day when you didn't know what anybody else had unless you actually went to their house or actually knew them or whatever, you were only compared to the people you were right next to, and now you can compare yourself with anyone that you find on the internet, and that makes it so much harder. And I think today there's just so much more pressure on young kids, especially young girls, trying to fit certain molds and make all these decisions at a young age, and you guys aren't equipped yet with all of the knowledge. You don't have that super strong foundation necessarily right away, so you're being asked to do all these things and be all these things, but you don't know like even who you really are or what it is that God is calling you to do, and it can be really overwhelming. And it makes it even worse when you're being compared to other people or when you're comparing yourself to other people. And it doesn't matter how old you are. I know it was kind of funny. It was like the second week of school. One of my teammates, she's a freshman, and we were running, and she was like, I thought in high school I had figured out that whole confidence thing, and then I came here and it's all gone. I was like, oh, trust me, like it happens. Like everybody gets super overwhelmed when they first come to college, and that happens with any life transition. It might just be you're moving on to, I remember like in middle school moving on to like the 7th grade basketball team is like my first official school sport, and that was like a pretty big transition. So it doesn't matter whether you're transitioning within middle school or transitioning from middle school to high school to college, whatever it is, it can be hard. And I know when I came here to Hillsdale for college, I was incredibly overwhelmed and I felt very insecure about myself, and that was just because I was comparing myself to everybody else, and everyone was way smarter than me, and they did more and had cool summer internships, and they did all these fun things, and I didn't, and I was very insecure about that, I would say. I felt kind of disappointed in myself. So by my spring semester of my freshman year, I started checking out all these self-improvement books from the library, like how to be an efficient communicator and the top 10 or top 7 distinctions between millionaires and the middle class, and the habits of highly effective people, all those kinds of things. I was reading all these books because I wanted to try to fit in here and I wanted to be good enough. And over the summer then, I went home and I tried to start my own business and write a book and do all these crazy things. And I think after a really hard transition to college, after like a stressful year, the last thing I needed was to come home and put more stress on myself. And that's exactly what I did. And that was just so I could feel more secure, so I could feel more confident, so that way when I went back to school for my sophomore year, I could tell people what I did over the summer and I could feel more accomplished. And I don't necessarily think that was a good thing, because I spent that summer a little stressed out and trying to control everything, and I didn't just relax and spend time with my family and friends like I should have. So I think that was a pretty big mistake, and that was a really big learning lesson for me, was Comparing yourself to other people will put more pressure on you that God doesn't have for you. He's not asking you to do all these crazy things. He's asking you to do the thing that He has called you to do. A great verse that I like to turn to for that is Galatians chapter 6, verse 4. It says, "Pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else, for we are each responsible for our own conduct." And I think that's a great reminder that, yeah, God has given you your own job and your own purpose and your own thing that He's calling you to do, and that's all you have to focus on. For me, I think in that first year of college, I just needed to focus on getting through that first year and taking it all in and learning. And He wasn't asking me to do all these other things. And I think that was just me trying to take control into my own hands and handle everything on my own. And that's not at all what God was asking me to do. But I only did it because I was comparing myself to other people. So that will definitely make you less joyful. And it might make you resent God a little bit too, because you're spending all of this time wondering, am I ever going to be good enough for Him? Because, oh, I haven't achieved everything that this person has, so God must love them more than me. And that is so not true. God loves everybody equally and incredibly abundantly. So knowing that He loves you that much, no matter what it is you have or have not achieved, that kind of can take off some of that pressure. You don't have to worry about comparing yourself to all these people, because He does have a purpose and a plan for you, like just for you, and it's good, and that's what He's wanting you to do, and that's all you have to do. And I think that's a really special thing to think about. And another great verse to help remind you of that is in 1 Samuel 16. This is when God is talking to Samuel about how He's going to pick David to be the next king of Israel. And I think David had older brothers who were probably more experienced and bigger and stronger and whatever. They were just all around better. That according to what any other man would have seen, they would have picked them over David. And he was just like the little shepherd boy kind of thing. And Samuel hears from God, and He's like, I want you to pick David. And the Lord, this is in Samuel 16:7. The Lord said to Samuel, "Don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but God looks at the heart." And I think that's a really important thing for us to remember, is that God is just looking at our hearts, and He has this special relationship with us where He gives us these desires to fall in line with His plans for us. So He knows our hearts because He created them. He knows what we want because He's given us those desires, and He has all these plans for us that we don't have to worry about what we look like on the outside. We don't have to look or worry about how we compare to anybody else, because that's not what God's worried about. He's worried about you and your heart and your motives, when it might look like you're not achieving as much. When I think about how God really cares about our hearts and what we're doing and the motives behind it and why we're really doing what we're doing, when we're actually acting out of a genuine heart and God's will for our lives and wanting to serve Him, it makes me think of this story about the woman who gave up just her couple little coins. In Luke 21, it says, "While Jesus was in the temple, He watched the rich people dropping their gifts in the collection box. Then a poor widow came by and dropped in 2 small coins. 'I tell you the truth,' Jesus said, 'this poor widow has given more than the rest of them, for they have given a tiny part of their surplus. But she, poor as she is, has given everything she has.'" And when you think back to the verse in 1 Samuel, God is looking at the heart, and He's looking at why you're doing what you're doing. There's people who are going to look like they're doing way more than you, or they've accomplished way more than you. And that's not to say they've done it for wrong reasons or whatever. It's just God is just asking you to do your best for His glory with what He's given you. And you don't have to worry about what anybody else is achieving. And you don't have to worry about if you're giving more money than anybody else or making more money, or if you just are more talented. It doesn't matter. I think about some of my favorite teammates who have encouraged me the most. They weren't the most talented people on the team, but they are the people that worked the hardest, encouraged the loudest, and loved the most genuine way they could. And they were doing that out of the true kindness of their heart, because they know that maybe they aren't super talented in this certain sport or whatever it is, but they were out there doing what God wanted them to do with what they had. He might not have given them the most talents, but He gave them a spot on the team to encourage the rest of the team. And I think that's super important to remember, is that sometimes you're not going to be the most successful. But if you're doing what God is asking you to do, you're going to have the most joy, because you're knowing that you are doing things with a genuine heart and you are serving Him. And there's a tremendous amount of joy that can be found in that. There's nothing else that will fulfill you as much as that. It doesn't matter what's on your Instagram versus her Instagram. It doesn't matter how many likes or friends or followers you have or anything like that. It's just God looks at your heart. And we need to remember that, because it can be incredibly easy to compare yourself to everybody else. And that's going to take away from all the exciting things that God's trying to do in your life. So hopefully this will be a little bit of encouragement for you guys to just really focus on what God has given you. Have that grateful heart and really take pride in the gifts and the talents and the opportunities He's already given you, and then use those for His glory. And I think that will help give you more joy and more excitement for life than any kind of other success would ever give you. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing or what anybody else thinks. You don't need to compare yourself with them. So stay tuned on Wednesday for our next Sunday Devotional topic. And if you guys have any comments or questions, you can post those below. Have a good day.